Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to MMA Prophecies, where I release weekly UFC and MMA news. Please hit that like and subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm. Now let's get into it. So, leaked text messages from Dana White have been released, and they're about when him and Lorenzo Fertitta had contract disputes amongst several UFC fighters like Mark Hunt and Jon Jones. These were just some texts from the antitrust suit lawsuit against Zuffa, which claimed that Zuffa was forcing MMA fighters into unfair contract terms because no other organization is nearly as big as the UFC. After Lorenzo tells White that them and Mark haven't resolved their contract dispute, he texts him back, "Okay, yeah, he's a F-head. Bury that effer." So Mark Hunt actually sued the UFC twice for alleged racketeering, fraud, and breach of contract, among other claims, but the judge ruled against both of them and dismissed all claims. I don't know about you, but that sounds like they're about to do something intentional, right, in order to screw over Mark Hunt. But these are all just text, and we all know that Dana White is all about free speech. Afterwards, Dana claimed that it was just, it just meant sue him. For those of you who don't know, there were previous leaked texts that showed Dana and Lorenzo playing the good cop, bad cop routine during negotiations with the man himself. That's right, Jon Jones.
Are you working with
now? Okay, well, I'll talk to you. You're reasonable.
No, look at me. Yeah. You want to talk to me? Yeah.
And another UFC fighter that had accused the UFC before malpractice was also Jon Jones. He accused the UFC of intentionally pressuring him to sign a rematch with Alexander Gustafsson by releasing news that the fight was confirmed and set when Jones had never signed the contract in the first place. So if the UFC is consistently doing stuff like this to fighters, then it sounds like there's a good chance they're doing something illegal to me. But let's be honest, a lot of companies fly under the radar doing illegal things. There's just not enough CoffeeZillas in the world to stop it all. But these text messages read, "What's up with Jones? Did he straighten up, or is he still being a scumbag?" White asks Fertitta. Fertitta responds with, quote unquote, "Still a douche, but we're inching closer. Haven't moved on money, but sent the letter with an ultimatum." "Awesome. F that punk, Lorenzo," White responds. "He needs to know we don't need him, or he will F us over more than he already does." So Jones has brought the UFC a ton of fans, so these text messages are pretty harsh, but it probably hasn't been easy dealing with Jones because of all the trouble he gets into. In 2012, he crashed his Bentley into a post in New York City. In April 2015, he was involved in a horrific hit-and-run incident where he drove through a red light and smashed his rental car into a pregnant woman's vehicle. In March 2020, he was arrested for an aggravated DWI, or driving while intoxicated/impaired, as well as being charged for shooting a pistol under the influence. And the most recent arrest was in September 21, where he was charged with criminal battery for domestic violence, where his fiancée Jessie Moses had contacted the police saying that Jones abused her. Now, they also found blood on her clothing and wounds on her nose and mouth. So if you compare the two, Dana White calling Jones a quote-unquote scumbag isn't that bad. It wasn't a good idea to text things like that to each other, especially if you're the CEOs of a billion-dollar company, because it can come back to bite you, but I'm sure they're not discussing things of that nature over text anymore. Now, the UFC, for the most part, has had tremendous growth and success and has gained a massive amount of fans every year, so I'm sure the pay has gotten much better, but you should never leave your entire livelihood on one company. It's just too big of a risk. And that's why we see guys coming out on YouTube, starting YouTube channels. There's a ton of UFC fighters now getting into the social media industry and influencer industry, and it's a great idea. Always have a backup plan or something on the side, because you never know what they're doing behind the scenes or what they're planning. But recently, we actually saw Dustin Poirier come out on X and say his fight with Benoit Saint Denis was canceled because him and the UFC couldn't come to an agreement. And then on that same day, he apologized after claiming to have spoken with his manager and Hunter for the first time in days. So it sounds like maybe Dustin pulled a trick that Dana White pulled on Jon Jones by coming out and saying the fight was canceled before any terms were actually agreed upon. Touché, Dustin. Touché.
$1 million.
The reason why this is big news is because there is an upcoming lawsuit scheduled to start in April of this year. This $1 billion lawsuit that UFC is facing from hundreds of UFC fighters, and it accuses Zuffa of illegally acquiring and maintaining a monopoly over the MMA industry, which resulted in fighters being paid a fraction of what they would earn in a competitive marketplace. These are some very serious accusations and can lead to significant changes in UFC pay in the future, as well as resulting in around $800 million to $1.6 billion in damages.
$1 million.
I'm all for equal pay, you guys, and equal rights for employees, and I hope changes are made, but only time will tell if that will actually happen. Who do you guys think will win? The UFC fighters or Zuffa and the UFC? Let me know in the comments section and why. And if you guys like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button for more UFC content. And until the next one, peace out, you guys. See you on the next video.